Epic game battle history. Sonic Boom versus Sonic 2006. Part the end. The story. I was watching my old Sonic Boom versus Sonic 06 videos and saw how while they got a lot of views, the quality of them steadily declined as the series went on. Eventually, the parts were just me talking to the camera. That is a good way to make simple videos, and not for something like this. I decided to do it again because my tech has improved, and so have my skills of video creation. I'm using a script I wrote this time, and a different set of software to make this the video. Set of PowerPoint and pictures and text on the screen. It's Audacity for the audio, pictures and videos, and Power Director, the free version, to put it all together. I also have a more powerful computer than I had back then. This will help me make better videos. Now that's out of the way, let's get started with this end, the story. I've already talked about the other aspects of these games. Yes, the music, graphics, hardware, and playable character count is better in Sonic 06. The gameplay, each playable character, and story are better in Sonic Boom Mario Lyric. What makes or breaks this contest is going to be the story of the games. Sonic Boom's story is not the best, but it's still better than Sonic 06's. The reason why is time travel. In both games, time travel is used in the plot, but it's way worse in Sonic 06. In Sonic Boom Mario Lyric, Sonic and Tails go back in time to imprison Lyric 1,000 years ago. Once that is done, they are sent back. The only other thing they can change is whether a turtle farmer will plant dangerous seeds or not. Maybe not planting the seeds will make getting a bonus item or stage possible, but it's not required. It doesn't change the story. They are taken to the past, play a level, imprison Lyric, talk to the farmer or not, and then they are taken back to the present by Maya, the ancient computer thing that used to work for Lyric. In Sonic 06, Sonic and friends go back and forth through time over and over again. Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles are sent from the present to the future by Dr. Eggman. They eventually get back to the present by using Chaos Control with Shadow. Shadow and Rouge were sent from the present to the future by Mephiles, and then after sending Sonic, Tails, Knuckles, and Rouge back to the past, Shadow fights Mephiles and meets up with Omega, who was in sleep mode for 200 years. After the fight, Mephiles uses a time portal to try and escape. Shadow and Omega are able to go through the portal and end up back in the present. Shadow and Silver use Chaos Control to open up a time portal that goes 10 years into the past. Back then, they find the Duke of Soliana and his daughter Elise were injured by an explosion. The Solaris lamp was experimented on and eventually exploded, mortally wounding the Duke and knocking out Princess Elise. Shadow and Silver also see two creatures emerging from the remains of the Solaris lamp. A black slime monster that's Mephiles, and a small fireball that's Iblis. They try to escape and when Shadow and Silver go after them. The Duke gives Shadow the Scepter of Darkness, and he uses it to seal Mephiles. Silver captures Iblis with his telekinetic abilities and carries it back to where Shadow, the Duke, and Elise are. The Duke wishes on a Chaos Emerald he has, causing Iblis to be put inside Princess Elise. After all that, Shadow and Silver return to the present and then work to help stop Iblis and Mephiles from destroying the world. Eventually, Sonic fails to save Elise from dying because Dr. Eggman's ship, the Egg Carrier, malfunctions and crashes. Silver and Blaze tell Sonic that he can go back to the past to save her, and they use Chaos Control to make a portal to a few hours ago. Sonic gives his Chaos Remote to Silver and jumps into the time portal. He eventually does save Elise. Silver and Blaze, the cat, who were living in the future, were convinced by Mephiles to follow him into the past to kill the Iblis trigger. It really should have been Cream the Rabbit. Blaze already had a backstory in Sonic Rush. In fact, the people who made Sonic Rush said that Sonic Rush is Blaze's backstory. Forget about that Sonic 06 bullcrap. Cream would have been way better. She would be a child in the present, and then a full-fledged hero in the future because of what Iblis did to the world. And it would be even more epic if Cream had sacrificed herself at the end of Silver's story instead of Blaze. Now, that's not what happened. Blaze absorbs Iblis and sends herself into another dimension. but she never talks about what happened in Sonic 06, in Sonic Rush. It feels non-canon. Anyway, the point is that time travel plays such an important role in Sonic 06 that it not working might raise so many questions. What if Shadow and Silver didn't go back to the past? What if Silver and Blaze didn't believe Mephiles when he said Sonic was the Iblis trigger and didn't go back to the past to try and stop him? And the most important questions of all, if the good guys can travel back and forth through time whenever they want, how can they lose? And if the bad guy can travel back and forth through time whenever he wants, how can he lose? It gets even worse later when Mephiles kills Sonic. It's so out of left field, too. Sonic saves Princess Elise from dying in the egg carrier crash, and then they are walking through a field. Suddenly a Chaos Emerald appears in front of them and starts flashing a bright strobe light. Sonic and Elise stop walking and cover their eyes. Mephiles appears behind Sonic and shoots a laser through him. Elise gasps as Sonic falls to the ground and closes his eyes. Elise tries to shake him awake, but it doesn't work. She starts freaking out while Mephiles laughs maniacally. Oh yeah, Iblis can get out of Elise if she dies or cries. That's why Mephiles laughed. He killed Sonic in the hopes that she would cry because she was in love with him. But with that logic, she could have released Iblis way earlier. She could have cried when she found out her father was dead, at his funeral, or when she realized she was an orphan. Heck, there was a moment where she would have cried that could have put Dr. Eggman in danger. After going through the White Acropolis, the snowboard level, Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles get into Eggman's ice base. Dr. Eggman and Princess Elise are behind a pane of glass, and Dr. Eggman tells them to give up the Chaos Emeralds they have and put it on a pedestal in the middle of the room. They do what he says, and then he presses a button or pulls a lever, and a bright light fills the room. You hear Sonic and Tails and Knuckles cry out in pain, and when the light goes away, they are gone. Eggman tells Elise that he sent them forward in time, but he's the bad guy. She could think he's lying. She could have freaked out and cried, and Eggman's ice base would have gotten a lot warmer, if you know what I mean. But anyway, Iblis gets free, and Mephiles uses the 7 Chaos Emeralds he got somehow, to fuse with Iblis and become Solaris again. He then begins to erase all time and space as we know it. Elise, Omega, Tails, Knuckles, Rouge, Shadow, Silver, and Amy all appear in the same place with Eggman and Sonic's body. And after discussing things a bit, they decide to go get the Chaos Emeralds and use them to bring Sonic back to life. They go through the toughest levels in the game with 5 lives. After getting past all the time portals, they get the Chaos Emeralds and use them to wish Sonic back to life. Princess Elise kisses him and he becomes Super Sonic. He then goes over to Shadow and Silver and turns them super. They then fly off to fight Solaris. After a 2-round boss fight, Solaris is turned good, I guess, and takes Sonic and Princess Elise back to right before the Solaris life exploded. The Duke of Soliana and young Elise are in a room with a lamp. He calls it the Flame of Hope and says that when the flame gets big enough, they will be able to undo past mistakes and even see her mother again. Young Elise comments on how beautiful the lamp is, and then they leave the room. Then grown Elise and Sonic somehow end up in that room. Elise picks up the lamp and says something that makes the story even worse. If we blow out this lamp, blow out this flame, Solaris will never exist. But our encounter, we will never meet. It will never have happened. So this story is so bad that even the people who made it want to erase it from history. Sonic encourages Elise to do the right thing. So she blows out the Solaris. And just like that, Sonic 06 is over and also non-canon. Say what you will about Sonic Boom. Sonic Boom's story and how Lyric devolved, but the story is still not as bad as Sonic 06's. They fight Lyric one last time, beat him, and have a fireworks show as a celebration, and then the credits roll. Sonic Boom gets the point for best story. Last is best aftermath. Point goes to Sonic Boom. Both aftermaths are sad, but Sonic Boom Rise of Lyrics was less so. because of its less than stellar reputation, most likely due to the development being rushed due to less than optimal communication between the devs at Sega, the hardware and software of the Wii U being incompatible with the software of the game, especially during speed sections, the design differences of the characters, and Lyric being a mindless monster at the end, when he could have been so much more. The game was seen as a failure. If only it was allowed to be on more systems, then maybe there could have been a better version. But I heard there was an exclusivity deal between Big Red Button, Sega, and Nintendo. Sega had to make Sonic games exclusively for Nintendo. There was Sonic and the Secret Rings, Sonic and the Black Knight, Sonic Lost World, and Sonic Boom Rise of Lyric. 4 games of questionable quality in their own ways that were Nintendo exclusives on Wii and Wii U. Unfortunately, the other 3 games were more compatible to those systems than Sonic Boom was. And the Wii U's Parasite screen probably didn't help much because of the technical failure of that rushed movie tie-in game. Big Red Button was shut down. That's sad because Sonic Boom had some great ideas in it. Each playable character was enhanced. Sonic had a homing attack combo. Tails threw bombs that were more accurate, and he could glide. Knuckles had better attacks, and so did Amy with her hammer. They lived in a world that felt more like a world they would be born and raised in, and there was so much potential in that universe, but it was non-canon to the main Sonic universe. An approach I wish more developers would use for their games nowadays. But that failure is nothing compared to the failure and aftermath of Sonic 06. Now, corporations never like to admit failure, but you could tell they knew they messed up with Sonic 06. The next console game they made, Sonic Unleashed, started off with Sonic fighting Dr. Eggman. No ceremonies, no human princesses, only classic stuff that still holds up to this day. Then they introduced the Werehog and the new boost to win gameplay styles. But overall, it was a success. The only issue was the characters. You played as Sonic, hung out with Tails, and saw Amy, but no one else. In Sonic Colors, we played as Sonic, hung out with Tails. We didn't see Amy, any other character, except in the DS version. We saw Amy, Cream, and even Silver. Then came Sonic Lost World. We played as Sonic, hung out with Tails, saw Amy and Knuckles, and fought Eggman and the Deadly Six. They were obvious Koopaling knockoffs, but I liked them. I hope I see them again someday. Sonic Generations had us play as Sonic and save Tails, Knuckles, Amy, Rouge, Cream, Shadow, Victor, Espio, Charmy, and Omega. And Blaze. You even got to play as Classic Sonic. Play as Sonic. Then came Sonic Boom Rise of Lyric. Sure, it was a game made by a different team, but one thing I liked seeing was that you could play as 4 different characters: Sonic, Tails, Knuckles, and Amy. The stigma of those characters being playable was finally broken, at least a little. And at the time of this writing, there is even more good news. A few years after Sonic Boom Rise of Lyric came out, Sonic Team made Sonic Forces, a way better, more traditional modern Sonic game with ties to a fun 2D Sonic game that came out a year or 2 earlier. Dr. Eggman made a new villain called Infinite. And that guy used his powers of illusion to create fake versions of bosses Sonic fought before. Zavik from Sonic Lost World, Shadow and Chaos from the Sonic Adventures games, Metal Sonic from the classic series. Those guys and Infinite himself proved too much for modern Sonic. They knocked him out and took him to Dr. Eggman. At Dr. Eggman's space station, the Death Egg. The other characters thought Sonic had died. Then they found a new character to help them fight Dr. Eggman. Dr. Eggman's forces. And the cool thing is, you got to choose what animal this new character was. They literally had a character creator in the game. You could choose to make them male or female. Then you could choose to make them a dog or cat or bear or bird or wolf or rabbit or bear. And each one had its own special ability. The rabbit probably jumps higher. The bear had more attack power. The bird could stay in the air longer. The cat can get hit and not lose all their rings at once. And so forth and so on. That was so cool. You could even get new accessories for your characters to wear unlocked as you played. Remember that being in games? It was not the longest game, but it was fun. And then came Sonic Frontiers, a game with towers Sonic needed to climb to solve puzzles and huge fields and bosses to fight. You had to play as Sonic and hang out with Tails and Knuckles and met a new character named Sage. Now there's a Sonic racing game coming out with both Sega and Nintendo characters in it. Also, there are 3 Sonic movies with Jim Carrey as Dr. Eggman. Things are going well for Sonic now, in so many ways. Even the Sonic Boom TV show got 2 other games. Sure, they're for handhelds and not connected to the Rise of Lyric, and not connected to Rise of Lyric, but they were more successful, and that's the important thing. I'm your Woodclocks, and Sonic Boom wins. Who's next? I decide. Epic Game Battles of History.